I'm joined now by Ange. Hello, Ange.
Hello, Andy.
And you're looking at the back behind you. I saw a projector on the ceiling and thought, well, either this is a very, very high quality backdrop or you're sitting in a church.
I'm sitting in my church, Andy, this morning. Yeah, my haven I live next door to the church, so I have the luxury of just being able to nip in and do something like this.
Which is really, really cool. Now, you came through Barry Woodward, who I was really frustrated. I was supposed to interview him, and then I just couldn't do it. I wasn't very well that day. And it's one of the first interviews I've ever had to cancel, which I was gutted about, because we really, really do work hard to honour what we said we're going to do. But you know what? Life happens sometimes, and you have to kind of roll with resistance a little bit. But you came through the Proclaim Trust. So just give us a little bit, your story reframed, which is part of this. Just give us an overview. What is basically your story reframed all about?
So your story reframed is basically a program course that's designed how to tell your testimony. First of all, it would be a 10-minute testimony. So it's brilliantly designed how to actually captivate your audience. You start off with a captivating story because you want your audience attention, straight away. You want to be hard hitting with it. You 10 minutes, obviously the timing is, you have to get that right because you might only have 10 minutes slot in a toilet. The timing is really important. So you start the course, so it predominantly started on Zoom to begin with. So you'd have a training session, obviously with Barry and the other trainings on there, of how you're going to structure your testimony. Very much, obviously people, lack of confidence or lack of what to put in, what not to put in, what to say, not what to say, the characters, we do emphasize on, what we call the power of three for the characters. So the audience can image what you are saying, the part of your story. And we do use humor in there. We do use, to basically get the audience to have a laugh a bit. Your testimony is obviously some of the dark times in your life, so it's good to bring that humour around. Certainly for me, and the consequences of whatever the testimony is about. It could be about addiction, it could be gambling, it could be a whole number of things. But it's how it's impacted and led your life really. And obviously the turning point is how God comes into it, your faith comes into it, how you've been transformed, how you've had that contact with God, how He's transformed your life, and you've turned your life around through your faith, through God's word, and you finish back with the captivating story. So you have to you're taking your audience on a journey with you. I mean, you think, 10 minutes in a long time, but it's so that's why it's pinnacle to get your points across really well, really captivating, so the audience are hanging off every word with you. And also, a lot of your people's testimonies, the audience relate to it. It might be part of their story. It might be, something they actually experienced in their lives. Therefore, it encourages them to tell a story. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. And we tell our testimony because it's God's evidence of what He can do, how He can transform you. When you think you're hopeless, He puts the hope in you. And the course is run over a year. So you do some in-house training as well, where you would stand up and do your first draft. Leading up to that, though, you can, with the trainers, you can book in Zooms, give the first draft of how you're doing. They will mentor you, tell you what works, what don't work, give you advice throughout it. So you're constantly mentored throughout the journey of the course. And do you know what? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Doing the in-house one, you can obviously present to the rest of the candidates on the program, and it's great to hear their testimony and see how they grow when they're on the course and how their confidence builds. And then from there, I had the actual pleasure of speaking my testimony at the Fix conference. I was like, wow, this is beyond what anything I could have thought of, I dreamed of. And yeah, at the end of the course, we actually put in that you go from 10 minutes to a 15-minute testimony. So you add obviously bits to it. Again, you are mentored through that, booking the Zooms in with your trainer. So you do extend it with going into leading people into salvation. You know, when you're presenting them, whatever format you do, you might be doing it in a church and Salvation Army, a youth club, anywhere, basically. The idea is you can take your testimony anywhere, and bringing people into salvation, which is, you know, what the ultimate goal really, to show what God can do in your life, and He can do it for others too. So that's implemented at the end of the course, and that's where, yes, you do get your certificate of how you passed the course.
I said this beforehand. I like a certificate. I've got a few that, for most people, oh, really? That's not very exciting. For me, do you know what? That actually shows I did something and somebody said, yes, they can do this. Whether it was my high-ab license for a lorry-mounted crane or a forklift license, which I've got a swimming certificate. Do you know, to have that recognition that you've taken a period of time, whether it's a week, a year, 10, it doesn't really matter. There's something that says they've worked at this and look, they've done it.
Yeah. And you can tell all the candidates on that really do work at it. And, you know, certainly the outcome is how much, like I've already said, the confidence that people grow, and, you know, just being able to tell the testimony, help others. And yeah, I just loved it. I loved it. I really, really did.
I'm guessing, so you can confirm or deny, but have you done lots of public speaking before you started the Your Story Your Framed course?
I have, yes. With testimony style, I was in a Christian rehab called Hope House back in 2022-23. Obviously, my background is I was in addiction for 20 years. And going on that programme, we were called to go to many churches in Wales. The rehab was in Wales, and we were, you know, very much ushered on stage. Go and tell your testimony to all and sundry. You'd be like, well, do I have to today? Yeah, go on, God's got you. Off you go. Like, oh, you can have some cake after. But yeah, so I kind of had a background of doing my testimony in churches. With public speaking, I've done that. Yeah, numerous times I have, you know, regardless of my addiction, I still had a career. So yeah, I was supposed to public speak at work but this, and Barry actually came into our house to do a workshop with us. I think it was back in 2023. So he did a mini workshop of, Your Story Friend, which he does take over. I used to obviously take some to, rehabs, etc., prisons now. He'll tell you all about that. So we did do a mini workshop on that, and that's where he actually said to me, you should do this course. Alan. So that's why how I led to doing it a couple of years later when the time was right.
You know, all that you said, the one thing that sticks out for me is you can have cake. If you do this, you get cake.
Well, that was the church. That was the church was in Wales. I'd come, my handbag would be full of Welsh cakes by the end of the service, literally.
Hey, look, cake works, food works. It doesn't matter what it is. So let's go back a bit then. So you've got a background of rehab. How's that been in your life? And not is it a good, bad question? Not a silly one, but how's that been? Is that something that happened in childhood? Is that through adult? How did you find yourself in that place?
But my childhood, there was no history of addiction, no violence, no money worries. We were kind of, on paper, pretty much a perfect family, really. But when my mum and dad divorced, which I naively think didn't half of the families like us, really didn't, that kind of give me a turning point in my life, and not a good one really, because there were two new families that were created, and I didn't know where I fit in anymore really. So I'm about 12-year-old. yeah, I found alcohol and it did something to me. It really, really did something to me. But I was, I was 12-year-old, 13-year-old, I was a teenager. You do the normal drinking on the park and you know. But I never drank normally. I always drank more than anyone else. Um, but I was alright at school. I was mainly sporty at school, so I was a confident kid, just a sport. And so over the years, yeah, I started the rave scene and the club scene, but I had a good job. So with regards to that, I went into drugs obviously with, started with the party drugs really. But that was, you just had a cup of tea. It was as normal as having a cup of tea
Mm.
to have drugs at a weekend. It really was. It was just part of the clubbing lifestyle. But again, the drinking was just, if I wasn't in the pub during the week, I'd be at club at weekends. So after about 10 years of just the party lifestyle, really, I thought it was who I was. That was my identity. I did get married. I only know got married because I've seen the photos. It was all a bit of a blur, really. To be fair. But I did try to calm down because when I got to about 27, 28, the come downs of drinking drugs weren't good. I knew, it wasn't a good lifestyle in the end. And I did belong to children. So I was blessed with two daughters. So I did change for a while. I really, really was sensible. I think my ex-husband, used to walk around in a daze, like shocked at how much I had changed at the time. But it didn't last. It didn't last because, my addiction was always there, really. And it was a matter, wasn't long before the sneaky drinking started coming in because I was a mum. I had responsibilities. I couldn't be like I used to. I couldn't be mad at anymore. So that's when you begin to lead a double life kind of thing. So over the years, my marriage ended just a bit, and then I was very much, typical. I always thought I was a strong person, so I will keep my daughters. I will still work. I'll keep the house. Really, I was, that one looking like everything's going on, and my legs were going from underneath me, and slowly everything just starts to crumble around you. So going into my first rehab when my my friend is like, she found me in a pub. I'm sure she had a tracker on me over the years because she used to find me and instantly. I mean, there was a catalyst. She was leading up to this, and she was like, "And you're going in the rehab." And literally within 24 hours, I told work I need 6 months off because I'm an alcoholic. She went, well, it's about time. Because everyone really knows. Everyone knows, and you think you're hiding it well. I had to give up my house. I had to go to my girls' primary school. So mum was going away for 6 months, and yada yada yada. And I went to my first treatment centre. That was in 2017. Concept program it was, and I thought, oh, this is all right. I've got time. I didn't have a dependency on alcohol then. I thought this is all right. I'm not working 6 months. I can easily give up alcohol. Things are still alcohol in treatment centres because you can't go out and buy it. Yeah. But I kind of went through that process of, giving lip service and getting away with a lot of stuff. I still have behaviours in there, even though I weren't drinking or taking drugs. And I don't think I really dealt with anything in there. So there's been a few more treatment centres since then, a few more rehab, a few more when it got into the dependency stage, because when I relapsed, I ended up being dependent, and that was a whole different ball game. Really was, having to have a drink to, stop the sweat, stop the shake, stop the tremors, all the rest of it. So that's very much across the line into pure alcoholism now. I was not coping at all. And I had a good few years of that. I had a good few years of, just in and out of recovery, relapse, just insanity, really, the same behaviour, repeating the same cycle. So yeah, the turning point for me, I'd moved away to Liverpool because I was trying to escape. It was during COVID. We won't blame the pandemic, but we'll blame the pandemic. I'd moved away to COVID, and I did everything going well before that, and then it was a chaos few years over there. And I come back to, where I knew. I come back, I'm from Burnley, and I went back to AA meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd tried everything over the years. I'd tried literally everything. And I started, a friend from there started to lead me to a church, and I instantly felt at home. I instantly felt like, because I'd gone to church when I was little. I'd gone to church when, my mum took me and my siblings to church every week. So I had that mustard seed of faith when I was little. And I remember being 8-year-old and reading my Bible on my bed, junior Bible, and thinking, I'm going to learn this. And I wasn't one for learning things. I just wanted to play sport. I wasn't academic and all that. I remember, I want to learn this off by heart. I don't know where that 8-year-old girl went, but it didn't last. So, yeah, going into the church, and it was actually the pastor of that church, and he really saw what a bad way I was. I was broken. I was literally broken. My addiction had beaten me down so badly over the years that I didn't know which way to turn it. Well, I really didn't. You're like imprisoned in your own mind. And you don't want to. At one point, I didn't want to live anymore because what's the point? I've lost everything. But the pastor, he gave me an application for a Whole House Teen Challenge, which is a Christian rehab, women's rehab down in Wales. And I literally, I thought, what have I got to lose? What have I got to lose? So it didn't take much persuading to go down to the Christian rehab, and wow, it was a year-long discipleship program.
Wow.
It was, and the fact that I saw when I went in was Jeremiah 29:11. Oh, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. Well, that was it. That was, I was sold. I sold. This is what I need. This is what I need. So that it was, like I say it's in the testimony, God for breakfast, God for dinner, God for tea, and a bit more supper, and it truly was, and I needed it. I needed that discipline. I needed the structure of it, and it was a miracle place of, so many girls that turning their life around, radical women, radical wives, and we all come together in a place that really we always said it shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. It really shouldn't work. I mean, you could be, we'd have a lot of duties throughout the day, but in the morning you'd have obviously breakfast and work duties and girls arguing over mops and this and that and chaos, and then you go up to chapel for worship at 9 o'clock and everything was peaceful, calm, everyone loves everyone, and the transition of just what went on. Completed over a year of that program, and I certainly learned a lot. I learned a relationship with God, not just to know Jesus, but to follow. And yeah, it's not just about putting drink or the drugs down. It's not about that, because that's the easy part. It's obviously for me, it was, staying clean and sober. But when I came out of there, I did the inevitable. I went back to my old village. I went back to what I knew to do. And it wasn't long before I, I fell again, and I fell hard. Because it takes every rock bottom is another rock bottom. And again, I was in this insane cycle again. I couldn't see my way out. I was still going to church though. I still had a relationship with God. I was probably trying a lot harder now to get well. But I was in that just dependency stage. It's awful thinking when against your will, but I was linked in with all the alcohol services and trying to get every help I could. And that it just took the process. It took a while. The church that I'm in now, I started coming to this church because I've done another treatment centre. Some of them were not Christian, but I had to have a roof on my head at the end of the day. I had to, I knew I could stay well in a treatment centre. I needed a roof over my head at times, and God's always never left me without a roof over my head, ever, throughout my whole mess. I've always had somewhere to stay. So I was kind of, when I came into the church at Gateway, like I said, coming to recovery night, and I instantly just loved the place. I absolutely love the place. The atmosphere in here, the Holy Spirit in here, it's just something you can't buy that. Absolutely. I was doing all right in life. I mentioned my daughters. I was starting to see my daughters again because that relationship has been off and on. They've always been there in my life, but I've never let them see me ill. I've never let them see me struggling. And with the dad, and they've got a great life. They just know that sometimes mum's not well. Over the years. So everything is going really well up until last February. I had a stroke, but not sweet relapse. Don't ask me where I were. There's only my bank transactions that can depict where I actually was. It was chaotic. But I had this determination. I'd gone back to alcohol services and did kind of write me off a little bit. Another rehab won't save you, and another tip, you're going to be waiting months and months for another detox. So I knew I had to just get myself out of this. I had to get myself out of this. And then I was just so determined, to come out of this relapse physically, mentally, spiritually stronger. I just took the fight in there, to detox myself safely, just reduce my alcohol, reduce it, keep myself really busy. I had the pastor of this church coming to pick me up from the house I was in, just doing everything possible. And it was actually a year ago, in a week's time, that in this very church where I'm sat, I was prayed for here, and I was completely delivered. The Holy Spirit just took me out big time, hit the floor, and I haven't touched a drink for a drug since. I knew from that part I do not need to ever drink again. I do not need to drink again. The next day, which normally I would have quite bad withdrawals, there was none of that. I still didn't feel great. I was still repairing, but I didn't have all the symptoms I would have had before. And from that day onwards, I've never ever looked back. Obviously, God don't wave a magic wand. He delivered me, so now I have to do my bit. And I think looking back, where I've always gone wrong, I wasn't fully surrendering to God's way, going off self-will sometimes, well, a lot of times to be fair. But now, you don't get clean from yesterday's shower, do you? So you need to surrender each day to be, conscious contact with God each day, and that's how I live my life, and just give Him the glory, because I sit here and I couldn't be more grateful and I couldn't be more amazed of how my life has turned out over this past year.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in there, one of which I wanted to touch on, because I've chatted to all sorts of people. It's like 200 stories in the last couple of years. Yeah. And one of the things that strikes me, it doesn't matter whether I read it from someone else or I'm chatting to someone, when you finally make that decision, you know what, I'm going to do my life God's way. Okay. It doesn't matter where you've come from, what your background is. Once you make that decision, so many people think, that's it. I've made the decision. Life's good. But all the people I've spoken to, and I can't prove this, but it's usually, in my thoughts, about 2 to 3 years of process, of hardship, of slipping back to where you were, which is what you found. And it's not as clean and, clean cut as I think we want it to be, think it should be, hope it to be, because like you said, I love that one about you can't get clean from yesterday's shower. There's going to be a process and there has to be a journey. It can't be immediate. And the reason it can't be is because God is really gentle. And if He just immediately, like a light switch, made us completely changed, I don't think we'd cope, because we wouldn't be who we were, and who we were is part of who we are and who we will be. Yeah, God will do amazing things with redeeming, renewing, making things new from our past, but there's still a journey that we have to go through. And I would say your story, for me, it sounds like one I've heard many times in my own life as well. It's never clean cut. There's always a journey and a process, and it's God's grace and it's God's gentleness that He allows us to take a bit of time to adjust from who we were to who we've become to the amazing person that God wants us to become. So your story is one that has changed, and you've had some really hard times as well in there. So just tell us. So because I've written the dates wrong. It's not you. It's me writing it down wrong. When did you go to your first rehab? What year was that?
2017.
So 2017 was your first rehab. When was the rehab where sort of the big change in your life? I suppose it is the ultimate rehab, isn't it? It's the lifelong one. When was that last year?
2022.
2022. Okay.
Yeah.
With COVID in the middle of all that.
We were just coming out of it actually then. Yeah. During COVID, I did a rehab on Zoom for 3 months.
Okay.
That was something else.
So,
like I said, I went to every avenue possible.
One of the things that's interesting, you said to your employer, right, I'm going off for 6 months. They said, and this was interesting, that the observation you made, they were like, well, about time. Because so many people, I think we all think this. We want to believe that no one can see our own failings. We want to think we've got enough buffer or wall or protection around us that no one can see the real us. But so often, at some point, it's going to be obvious. I worked with a lady who was an alcoholic, and she really didn't think she was. And everybody knew that she was for 100 different reasons, because she was driving cars and she was drunk and it wasn't great. And it was fairly obvious to everybody, but she really thought, because it was a shock on her face when someone said, well, we know you drink. Oh, no, I don't. It's in your hand. No, it's not. We're literally looking at it. It was that level of, but no one can see it. So how did you find with the work thing? Because did they just say you're sacked, or did they try and accommodate what you needed to do?
No, they said they were very accommodating. They said there'll be a job. Your job will be waiting for you when you come out.
Wow.
It was They were really good. They were really good. I actually worked then. I worked in security, so I worked at event work, so concerts, festivals, sports events. That was challenging. They just said whenever you're ready to come back, and which I did.
So you've done security work. You've met Barry, who said you should come and do the course. What's life for you these days? I mean, obviously you're living next to a church. You've got your story reframed in your life. What is your sort of normal daily life, weekly life?
Well, prior to being in security, I used to be a electrical manager. So I managed a gym for 20 plus years. So fitness has always been my background. So now I'm employment and wellbeing support officer. So basically, I get paid to go boxing, football, kickboxing. That's what I'm doing this afternoon. But also, it's just getting. It's not just a lot of people coming into recovery. They, it's life on life terms, and they've, been out of society or been engaged with society for a long time. So I insist in getting people back into activities, back into, being filling up people's days, and obviously the employment side of it, people that want to go and volunteer at places, so we've pinpoint them into places or various schemes. So my work is, giving back to help that I've had over the years, and doing what I love. I absolutely love it, and I've also got the amazing opportunity that to say that with your story friend, so the new course has started 2026. I remember I'd just come out of boxing actually, and on Facebook it had all the new candidates 2026, and they'd all come up. They'd done their introductory morning, and they'd all come up, and I know God tells us not to be jealous, but I'm like, I'm a bit jealous. I'm not a part of it. My year's over with them.
Yeah.
And literally a couple of hours later, I got an email. Barry and the team had held a meeting that morning, and it was a request. It was asking me, would I like to join the team training on this year's course? And I'm like, I was in shock, I tell you. I thought I'd play it cool. I'll wait 1.5 seconds before I class. I said, close to it. So yeah, that's part of. So I'm now helping with being a trainer on this year's course. So doing exactly what I got last year with candidates for this year's. So that.
I mean, there's a heck of a life change story.
Yeah.
I still love that analogy. If you can't get clean off yesterday's shower, because I think most of us think, well, I've done the work. That's it. Off we go.
Yeah.
But as your own story demonstrates, not a really terrible childhood, pretty good home in many ways, like you said. But actually, these things they can come from left field. They just take us out. So how did I find myself here? But there is a journey and there is a process and there is a story. So you found yourself, yeah, I'm all good now, off we go. And then you stumble and you fall. But that's all of us. We all stumble and we all fall, depending where we've come from. I'm really glad for the pastor of the church you're at saying, let's try this one in Wales. But I love what you said. What have I got to lose? And so many people come to Christ saying, what have I got to lose? But the real question is, what have you got to gain? And obviously you will know now what it is that you have to gain. How has knowing about Jesus is obviously a good thing. How has having Jesus in your life, following his ways, how has that helped and shape the person you are today, sort of from the person that you were a year ago when you were just coming back out of another relapse?
Certainly with, having that, the Holy Spirit is having that concept, having that conviction of, I know, of course we're brought up to know right from wrong, but do we always do right? Do we do a lot wrong? Yeah. I've got so much wrong in my life. I should have been a weather forecaster. They get it wrong all the time. You get away with it. So I hope in the Holy Spirit, having that guidance, waking up so peaceful. There's no chaos anymore. It's just obviously not everything's sunshine and lollipop in life as we know. But I'm able to deal with anything. Or if I can't, I know people that can. God's on my side. But it's just that peace and serenity that I have in life, and gratitude massive part of recovery is being grateful for what you've got, not what you've lost, just shiny things in life, all that, not what you've lost, it's what it's like you say, what have I got to lose, but everything I've gained, God does restore back. God does restore what the locusts have taken from you. When the time's right, it's all in God's timing now. I kept trying to rewrite my story all the time, and I just let go and let God now. And that's where the peace comes in, and it is, you can, other people see that in you. Other people have seen that in me, of how I'm just so brighter these days, and so much, everything's clearer and everything's just balanced. To have balance in your life. Because in addiction, there's no balance, there's no sense, there's no clarity, there's no, you say you can't see the wood for the trees, and you can't, you really, really can't. And to come out of that, out of the darkness, is just, it's glory to God. It's not in my strength. If I did this in my strength, I lived 10 years ago. It's not my strength. And trust me, someone that's worked in 40 in life must protect the glory. But it's not down to me. It's not down to me. And certainly you can see how people, put people in your path. The right people in your path. And not everyone's meant to stay on your path throughout your journey in life, in addiction, you're riddled with resentment, so kind of thing. It's just listed.
Yeah, that piece is the one thing that is very consistent of all the conversations I have. It doesn't matter where what you come from, what your struggles might have been. It does matter that you find this peace that sets the tone for the day. Might be a way I could put that, because all of a sudden you're not waking up, like you said, that resentment or that anxiety, that stress, that lack of control. All of a sudden you have this peace, which the Bible says it transcends all understanding, and it really does go beyond everything we could possibly understand. It makes no sense whatsoever. How can I possibly have this much peace? This is going on in my life, and yet I'm peaceful. And it's because the peace is something that's more than us. It's bigger than us. You're now doing some training work with the Your Story frame, which is phenomenal. Which is really cool, because you're getting to give back to people who are coming through where you've come through. Yeah. For someone listening, because we've got about 10 minutes left yet, so we've got lots of time to chat, which is great. What would you say to somebody who is thinking, I'm never going to get out of addiction. It's all right for her. She got through it. Look, it's great. Yeah. That's her. That's not me. How would you encourage somebody who's in that place of, it's not going to work for me? What's this Jesus thing about? How would you encourage them just to try and actually do something, I guess, to take control back of their own lives?
Yeah. Well, first of all, take the me out of it, because it can only be done by we. You can't do it on your own. It's the very much the beginning is recognizing you've got a problem. There's a lot of people, like you said, like the scenario with the woman, they don't recognize they've got a problem with it. Denial of it. You've got to openly admit you've got a problem, and I need help. I need help, because we can't do it on our own. And very much, God will meet you in your mess. He don't wait till you're oversigned and you're sorted. He meets you where you're at. For me, I'd be crying out to God at night. I'd be crying out for some sleep at night, kind of thing. So, it's like the blind man. When he healed the blind man, what can I do for you? You've got to tell God what you need is get around good people, going to church. And what the first thing I noticed when back into church as an adult is I was not judged. Nobody judged me in there, and sometimes I were in a great state like that. But nobody ever judged me. And God, there's nothing impossible. God makes the impossible possible. You just got to trust and believe. You know, I used to trust drug dealers every day. I used to believe my answer was at the bottom of the bottle. You know, that's just insane thinking. Now, full circle, you know, God will restore you. God will transform you. And we've already said, you know, there's a timing process for that. You've just got to, just people, anyone suffering with addictions, you've just got to ask for help. And the help is there.
Is that asking for help though? Because we're in a society, I'm only thinking about the UK with this one, we're in a society where everything is, you need to be independent, do your own thing and make it on your own. And that is completely the opposite of the model of the Bible, which, like you say, it's not about me, it's about we. It's not about you on your own. It's about being part of a family, and that family's there. I love how you feel part of the family if your story reframed. Like, why would you be? Why should you be part of that family? How could you feel that way? And yet you do. And that is the beauty of the cross. That is the beauty of what Jesus did, because we really are a part of the family. You talked about Hope Harris in Wales. I love how you talked about the chaos and then worship, peace.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense to me. But why would you all be in a room getting on at all? Well, you wouldn't. You probably shouldn't in any other context, except for the fact that Jesus Christ is in the middle. That's the source of the peace, the reason that gives us the hope for the day ahead, for the week ahead. And that's what I see through the story that you've been talking about in your own life, is there was that weaving of an 8-year-old girl, and you're saying, what happened to her? I guess you got battered by life, probably. That's what sadly happens so often. And yet you knew you wanted this bit of God. And it sounds like he's never actually left you, but perhaps you pushed him away at various times or just lost sight of him. But that's a beautiful thing about God. He's ever faithful. And he stays by us. It's like, I'm still here. Do you want some help? Okay. Well, you go off. Let's come back when you're ready, because that's God's way. And he pursues us, but he pursues us in the most beautifully gentle of ways. Protects us from various things as we go along. You can see that as you look back, can't you? It's like, well, I did that. That was really bad, but not quite that bit. And that's God's protection, because he's there for you. You're now helping people. I guess that's kind of cool. I mean, I suppose from your past, having worked a bit in that, and now doing it in a very different context, but doing it with, I suppose, through the perspective of being somebody who knows they need Christ and has now got that relationship with Jesus in their lives, you get to help other people. How does fitness really help people with that kind of getting better? Is it really important part to be fit, or is it just it's a nice extra? Where do you think that balance is in?
Well, I think, you know, you can defining fitness. You know, some people's scale of fitness could be a lot higher than others. The activities we run, it's about, you know, connection. Everyone is connected. We're not supposed to be alone. So, you know, connecting, getting people involved, and, you know, health and well-being. You know, health is the new wealth, isn't it? So getting people, you know, engaging in activities, starting feeling better within themselves. You know, your healthy body, healthy mind. And, you know, certainly with people with the boxing, they've grown in so much confidence, and just, you can tell someone before a session and the difference after a session. You're releasing all your natural highs at the end of the day now. You know, that's what we're all about. And yeah, the connection is massive. The connection is, what we all need. But yes, it's certainly, you know, mental health, obviously, exercise is the best prescription for mental health. 100%.
It does. I mean, I'm struggling to walk at the moment because I've got a problem with one of my nerves. I've got a problem with some heart meds, and it's really frustrating because I've walked all the time. I can go 3-4 walks a day. It's I suppose, just my disconnection from a busy office, and we go out for a walk, and it's really frustrating that I can't at the moment. It'll come back. I know it will. But in this season of my life, it's really frustrating because the one thing I want to do that I've always done, which is go for a 20-minute walk, I physically can't do. And you have to try and get through and find other ways. So I'm learning patience and perseverance. The one thing I can't do when I'm frustrated, I can't go for a walk. I just have to deal with it in a different way. But there is another way, and that's kind of the point. It may not be what I've always done, and I'm confident it'll come back in weeks or months or whatever. I'll be able to do what I've always done of going for a walk. But there are things that we can do to help, and whether it is exercise, like I say, different levels, people at different levels. I've just been chatting to a guy who's about to paddle board around the British Isles. I'm not at that level. Sorry, canoe rather. I'm not at that level of fitness. Probably ever actually at this stage in my life. I'm probably never going to be able to do that. I'd have a go possibly, but he's at a different level of fitness, and we are different. But the differences, they actually matter, because if we were all the same, it would be really boring in society.
Yeah.
But the element of family is people who can hold us to account, which clearly that pastor in their own way back along did. Kind of called you to account and said, you need to go over here. And that's a healthy thing. We don't like to be told what to do. Sometimes it's really beneficial. If folk are thinking, hey, your story, your friend, that's really cool. How do I get my story out there? It's not about that. It's about your story for testimonies. Do you find yourself with a greater confidence now when you're arriving somewhere to share your story?
Yes, I do. Yes, and that there's a, I know it. I know they say, what's your story? How could you not know it? But it is about delivering it with confidence, knowing that because it say it's only 10 minutes. There's key factors to make sure you get across. And it's knowing your audience as well, because, different places do adapt it slightly to what the audience, different kind of audiences might have a different, slightly spin off on the testimony, if I'm doing it with, maybe the older age range, I'm not going to talk about being in a beat for 10 years. You get what I'm saying? So I would, you can adapt it to what your audience is, but certainly I have, a lot more confident with it. I know the reason I'm doing it. The reason is to help others, to encourage them to do their story, is to give God the glory now. And carrying that message. Like you said about someone that's in addiction now, they don't think they can get out of it. Well, we're living proof. We can. You just believe and put the action in. So it does require, you do have to put the work in. I'm on a daily reprieve from my addiction. I believe I'm delivered. I am delivered. But I've also, like we said, you can't be complacent about it.
Ange, thank you. I love hearing stories. It's one of my greatest privileges. I get to do a lot. I get to hear a lot of people's stories about their life. I see the interweaving kind of nature of God's Holy Spirit weaving through the life. I mean, you had it from 8-year-old reading a Bible through to today. And although it seems kind of chaotic and messy as you look back, actually, you can still see the beautiful sort of straight line of God that's there through all of your life. And you're now living testimony of that. I'm always amazed when I hear somebody who says, I was addicted, but God's transforming. The thing that always strikes me is if we've got an addiction, it's filling a hole of some sort in our life. There's some gap somewhere. And the thing is, if it was really horrible and terrible, we wouldn't even start considering it. But it's kind of fun. It's good to start with. So it fills this gap. And when you get rid of it, you still got the gap. And if you don't fill that with Jesus or the Holy Spirit, then you're going to fill it with something else. Probably the last thing that goes perfectly back into where it was. So your life, your story is such a clear reason why it's not enough just to be not addicted anymore, because you actually need something else. You need a healthy, righteous focus. So I loved how you've brought all that through your story. And thank you. You're going to have to wrap it up, but I'm really grateful for you taking some time to share your story. I love that you're helping people, not just through your story reframed and actually sharing your story, but the very nature of your job is helping people in a different thing. But again, it's part of your past that God's brought forwards. It's that passion and love for fitness. And now you get to use that in a whole different context. And that's the bit I love about these stories. Whoever I'm talking to from all over the world is that nothing's wasted with God. And clearly, it's not wasted with you either. Ange, thank you. I'm going to let you get on with your day. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.